Probate and privacy. During our lifetime, we, despite what the government sometimes tries to do and perhaps what some social media companies do with information that we provide to them, we generally still enjoy a fair amount of privacy. It's nobody else's business what we have in the bank or what our investments are worth or how much we paid for our house, all those kinds of things. And many of us work very hard to continue to protect that privacy. We do different things with our computers to keep people from hacking and obtaining our private information. We rely upon our banks to maintain our privacy. We rely upon the government to protect our privacy. So we generally take a number of steps to protect that privacy that we cherish. The problem with probate, there are a number of problems that cause, or a number of issues, I guess are not problems, they're concerns that clients have about probate. And one of those concerns that clients will have about probate, which might cause them to want to design an estate plan that will avoid probate, is the fact that when your estate goes through probate, you give up that privacy that you enjoyed during your lifetime. Why? Well, keep in mind first, probate, the probate process before the probate court, there's a file that's created, there's paper in that file, there's information in that file, and that file is public, meaning that anybody can go down to the probate court, look through your file after you've died and your estate's going through probate, and what are they going to learn from that file? Well, there's going to be a couple important things that they will learn from that file. They are going to find out what did you own that is now going through probate. Why? Because there's an inventory prepared. And the inventory gets normally filed with the probate court. And then anybody can go down and read that inventory, which is basically a list most of the time of the major assets that you own, to know what it is you owned at the time of your death. Second, though, and perhaps as important as that, they can also determine by reading the paperwork who is going to receive your estate. The names and addresses, contact information, if you will, in some cases, is often included in that probate filing. So not only does the person know what your estate had, that person can also know who received it, and in some cases know where that person is. And if they don't know that, well, it's certainly easy. Do a Google search. Simply go search on Google for a name, and you're likely going to come up with an address for a person that you're looking for. You don't need to hire private detectives to go about doing all of that. So, when the estate goes through probate, you are now giving up that privacy, not just for yourself, quite frankly, but you are giving up the privacy for your loved ones. Because the fact of the matter is, we all know this, after we're dead, privacy doesn't really impact us directly. But who it does impact in that case are the people, are our loved ones who are going to be receiving our estate. Now, an absolute stranger has the ability to know much of what you're going to receive, at least as far as assets that go through probate, and has the information available to them as to who it is that's going to receive your estate. For a number of people, that is a concern. They don't want to give up that privacy that they enjoyed during your lifetime. Why? Well, sometimes it's just they don't want to give their privacy, period. But we also know, unfortunately, that there are bad people out there, and a number of those bad people out there will use that information that they glean from reviewing your probate court file to try and scam your family out of their inheritance. Let me just give you one example of a person that was doing this that had been in the news a couple of years ago anyhow, maybe a few years ago. And what this individual would do is this. They would read the newspaper, read the obituary section, and when somebody died, they'd make a note of who it was. And they were also looking for individuals who most likely is a widow that's just died, whose children don't live near her. All of that information readily available in an obituary. In my situation, if my mother was a widow and died, the obituary would probably say something like her son Tom, who's in Lansing, her son Patrick, who's in Bay City, her daughter Nora, who's in Colorado, etc., etc. That's common information that is in an obituary. So what this individual would do then is he knew about how long after someone died. He would now go down at the probate court and look to see if a probate file has been opened. And when one was opened, he knew, because he'd been doing this for a while, about how long it would be before an inventory would be filed with the probate court. So once the inventory was filed with the probate court, and he then had some idea as to what this person owned, he would send a bill to the house for, sometimes it was plumbing, sometimes it was electrical, sometimes it was home repair, whatever it was. He would have a fake letterhead, and he would send a bill to the home, not for thousands and thousands of dollars, but perhaps hundreds of dollars. And he'd mail it to the house. Now, what did he know was going to happen? What he knew was going to happen is whoever it was that was now receiving mom's mail is going to get that bill and is going to look at that bill and might, in fact, say to themselves, well, hey, mom never told me that she had any plumbing work that was being done. Or that she needed any electrical work or anything like that. But perhaps she just forgot to tell me. But I'm going to call this guy. I'm going to find out what work he did. So they call the number, and the guy would answer the phone, Acme Plumbing or, Bob's Electrical, whatever it was he was using for his scam. And, we received this bill from you, from my mom. Don't know that, mom never told me anything about this. And he now had enough information, oftentimes from the inventory, to be able to convince the person that he had, in fact, been to the house. Oh, yeah, I remember your mom. She had that 1998 Buick automobile. I remember seeing it in the garage. And I remember when I went into the house that she had A, B, C, or D. Or I remember going to her house at this particular address. Whatever happened would be, he was good. And he had enough information from the inventory, one, to know that this was likely somebody who might have some assets, but two, to convince whoever it was he was talking to on the phone that he, in fact, had been in the house. Well, what would they then do? Well, I don't really know, but hey, it's only a few $100s. I'll write the check and be done with it. So there are bad people out there, certainly much worse people, but there are bad people out there that, for a number of people, are concerned. Let me give you just one example of a client, because at the end of the day, the client wasn't concerned about his privacy. He was concerned about protecting his daughter's privacy after his death. He had an estate of in the neighborhood of $4 to $5 million. And he had one adult daughter. And that adult daughter was single. She lived a very modest lifestyle. If you looked at her and you looked at the apartment that she was living in, she would be someone who would appear to be someone of very modest means. The client was concerned that upon his death, his daughter would now be a multi-millionaire. And he wanted to protect that information. He wanted to protect her privacy because he was concerned that if his estate ended up going through probate and somebody could go down and look at the probate court file, that somebody out there might now try to take advantage of his daughter because she was now suddenly wealthy. It wasn't then a question of protecting his privacy as much as it was protecting his daughter's privacy after his death. And really, if you think about it, that's the privacy that we're trying to protect, the privacy of our loved ones that we are giving up if our estate goes through probate. Now, maybe you don't have concerns of privacy. I'm not saying everybody has to do something or avoid probate because of privacy, but if you do have concerns about protecting privacy for your loved ones after your death, then understand that probate is not going to be something that you're going to want your estate to go through. You are going to want to look at ways to avoid having your estate go through probate. And there are options. There are options to avoid probate and to protect that privacy and the privacy of your loved ones. And if you're interested in having a conversation with Amanda or I, we'd be happy to have that conversation and discuss with you the options that you would have available to protect that privacy after your death.